I am now joined by a very, very, very special guest. It's a longtime friend of the podcast. It is now retired MLB player Brian O'Grady, the man himself. Brian, it's been a little bit since we've had you back on. I don't think we talked on the pod since you've officially retired. First of all, congratulations. How's the summer been for you without ball?
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me back. It's been great. Uh, Enjoying regular life and being at home, not being away all the time, seeing my kids and my wife. Got a dog now, puppy, so that's been fun and a pain in the butt at the same time. So, man, I can't complain. I definitely miss little things about playing, but overall, it's been way better than I would have ever thought it was to retire. So I guess I was ready, which I thought I was. So I'm happy.
Do you miss the sound of metal spikes on concrete? Because I feel like I would miss that immediately.
That wasn't one of the things that comes to mind, but it's definitely a nostalgic sound now that you say that.
just walking out like on a backfield and like camp and stuff, and it's just like you hear
Oh
the
yeah.
crunch of the cleats. Like that doesn't. All right.
No, it definitely does. It brings back memories now that you throw that out there. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I would miss that. Like that when I stopped playing baseball in high school, I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to get a chance to hear that sound of cleats on concrete again. So people out there, they understand. Yeah, that's going to resonate. That's I'm telling you. Besides cleats on concrete, like what are some of the other little things that you miss? Like you obviously you played professional baseball for so long. Like what kind of things stand out?
Obviously, I miss hitting the ball. You know, the feeling of nothing when you square one up and um, watching it go over the fence and all that stuff. But uh, more so, I miss the guys in the clubhouse for sure and doing all that. But just like the excitement leading into a game and the kind of butterflies and just the anticipation of everything and competing, definitely I miss all that. But it's man, we talked about it a long time ago and it was true. You know, I'm grateful for the 12 plus years I had doing it, and you know I got to live out my dream, travel plenty, and do all these things. So I've been ready to come home and be home.
12 years when you put it that way, like it's so impressive. Like we've talked this is a conversation we had a while ago, but it's always kind of stuck out with me. It's like there's so many talented guys that like never got a shot, that like never got past college or never got past the minor leagues, that like for one reason or the other it didn't work out. Like but in your case though, to have three major league seasons and to be on a World Series team and to go travel across the world and stuff, like yeah, I imagine like there's a lot of feelings and emotions that come with thinking back about all that stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel really lucky as part of it too because I saw plenty of really good players that, for whatever reason, they just couldn't figure it out or couldn't get that call to be drafted or to play in the major leagues. There's so much that goes into it aside from just being a good baseball player or being physically talented. Um, the mental part of it is probably the toughest, but also there is definitely a little bit of luck that's involved too, or timing, or staying healthy. So yeah, I'm just really grateful for my time and that all the hard work I've put in over my life, paid off with me accomplishing my dreams.
You ever think about just like in 2020, like how close you were to getting a World Series ring, though? Does that eat at you at all?
No, not really. It's funny because I actually have the AL championship ring sitting right in front of me, but it was just because it was such a strange year and the fact that I didn't play the playoffs, I think it's a great memory and it's really cool. And I'm proud to have been a part of it, but it doesn't eat at me or anything like that.
Do guys have to physically sign anything to be retired, or what's the process for that?
You know what? I'm not totally sure. I think if you're still in affiliate or the major leagues, you probably do because of the drug testing and things like that. Um, for me, I mean, I haven't signed anything saying, I'm out or anything like that. But it's been 5, 6 years since I was involved in any of that. So, um, That is a good question. I'm not sure, but I didn't sign anything.
So there's always a chance. That's what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, that's the great, always the big what if.
Yep. You never know. No, I'm just kidding. I am done.
Yeah. Your wife is watching this. Like, I'm sorry, what?
No, nothing to
um,
worry about.
I love that. So I had a couple things I wanted to talk about with you today. It was just like this time of year in baseball. So it's like late August from the dog days, but it's also kind of interesting time from a standings perspective, how teams have kind of like gone through a season, like getting close to the playoffs. I wanted to think back to a couple years or 5 years ago. I guess now it was just the 2021 Padres, a team that you were on, played with them up and down throughout the year. I didn't realize it's been so long. I just forgot that like that was a hell of a season for them. Going from at one point like a May, what was it, May 31st or May 30th, they were in first place in the NL West by half a game, and then by August 10th, they were 18 games above 500, and then they just didn't make the playoffs. When you think back to that time and like did first of all going into that season after the offseason where they added so much firepower, like was that did you feel the hype? Like did you feel like the anticipation of oh my god, we have the core to go do something?
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody did. I mean, Blake Snell came over. There was just so many talented guys on that team, and obviously they had a nice run the year before for the first time in a while. So it was definitely, the expectations were very high going into that year, and it just didn't work out. I mean, obviously you're competing with the Dodgers in that division, which is always going to be tough. But yeah, it we were rolling for a while there, and then it just kind of fell apart at the end. I don't know exactly what happened the last month because I didn't go back up for that month, but um, there seems like there's always more to it than just playing poorly when a collapse like that happens to a team.
When because I went back and looked at some of the standings, like obviously the Dodgers and then battled the whole year, but also the Giants were killing it that year also. When you're in a division and you're fighting against those kind of like powerhouse teams, like do you guys scoreboard watch? Are guys aware? Like are guys coming back after a game and seeing like, okay, did the Dodgers win today?
Yes, I think secretly, yes. Everyone is aware of what is going on because it matters, right? But obviously, you can only control what you can control, what you're doing, what your team's doing, and that's what you have to focus on. But yeah, when you're chasing somebody or battling for one of those last spots, it's like, okay, well, wonder what they did today, and then, but everyone's all everyone who's playing is a fan of the league too, or follows what's going on because you have to. It's basically part of your job. So yes, everyone knows what's going on, whether they admit it or not.
Is MLB Network just on TV in the clubhouse at all times?
Not at all times, but it definitely be on there too. I mean, it's good. You got to take a little bit of a break too, right? You can't just be like constantly 24/7 all in, or you're going to drive yourself nuts, or like waiting to see your stats or highlights, or they're talking about how bad you're playing come on the screen. Yeah, you don't really want to see that stuff. But post game, if you win, a lot of times something will be on. If you lose, that thing gets turned off real quick or switched to a different channel.
Yeah, HGTV's on instead of Sports Center. Yeah, after a bad
Anything.
loss. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, so I remember looking back at some of the trade deadline stuff. Like that was a very interesting trade deadline for them. Because they wanted to go out and get more pitching, but obviously they didn't pull the trigger on some guys. And then obviously the Dodgers got Scherzer and Trey Turner and stuff. When you came back in August, was it a weirder vibe when you came back in early August than when you had left in late July? Like had anything shifted from the trade deadline from when you came back up?
That's a great question. Um, I can't remember exactly, but I do remember we were on the plane about to come back from New York or somewhere, and it came across that we traded for Frazier, for Adam Frazier, and obviously a very good player and a great addition and a good dude. But I'm sitting there too, like, damn it, this means I'm going down.
Oh, you knew that
Yeah,
immediately?
yeah. Well, on that team, I was really the only guy who could position player
Oh,
wise. It was all, everybody. either had contracts or it was like Grish and Cronenworth at the time, So yeah, I was the one who was going up and down. So um, it's just funny to think about that now. I mean, Frazier's a great dude and a great player. So it's not doesn't hurt my feelings or anything. It's just it's funny to think about that. But it's you know it baseball is the season is so long that you have to be just like so cohesive as a organization, pretty much the team, the front office, coaches, everything just has to keep going right and be in like harmony in order to perform over that entire however many months it is, 162 games plus that. If something starts breaking down there, it's easy for everything to kind of fall apart.
One thing I'm always fascinated by, and we talked a little bit about this before, was just like the way that teams win. As a fan, I can sit there and say, okay, this doesn't feel sustainable. Like if the example was just like if you're scoring 10 runs a night, like the Nationals were at the beginning of the season, you're like, oh, sick, the Nats are above 500. It's like that's not going to last. The 21 Padres were interesting because I think they had one of the fewest amounts of starter innings pitched like of any team. I think the bullpen was just coming in every night after like the fifth inning. It felt like so. It was like when you guys were winning and when killing it, it was like okay, cool, this is fine. But like in the back of your mind, are you ever just like the pitching isn't really like I don't know if we can keep this run going. Like is that a conscious thought or are you more so just like oh sick we're winning?
I think it's both. Like you're always, if you're winning, it's always like sick, we're winning. But in the back of everybody's mind, you know what it takes to play good baseball and win, like we just talked about over the long haul. And, if you just are constantly having to score 10 runs to win games or having to pitch shutouts to win games, like, that's not going to last very long because it's baseball. It's just not going to happen that way. Or if you're making bad mistakes and running the bases or errors that you're getting away with in games, to win a World Series or to make the playoffs, even that you can't keep doing that stuff. So you're always happy when you win because it's not easy to win, but at the same time, you're aware that we have to be better. We got to do this better, whatever it is, to consistently win those games, especially against good teams.
Yeah, especially in the NL West. Um, this is like I mean, obviously this is all kind of tied back to that team, but just like in general, are slumps contagious? Like they say hitting is contagious. Like could what causes half a lineup to go cold at the exact same time?
Yeah, I think they can definitely be contagious. Everybody trying to do too much. If you're not scoring runs as a team or you're on those losing streaks, you start trying to get 3 hits and one at bat as a team, or a couple guys start doing that, then yeah, it's easy to fall into that trap. And all of a sudden, nobody's hit, and then everyone's just pressed. So I think hitting is more contagious than slumping, but slumping could definitely be contagious as well.
When you were there, like were you in the bottom third of the lineup? Like where like what was like your most frequent position that you were hitting in?
Probably seventh.
So yeah, 7, 8, 9. What's it like when like the 1, 2, 3, 4 in a lineup is not doing anything? Does like the bottom third of the lineup is it just like instinctual like oh crap like we have to kind of do more because like the top third's not doing anything?
Yeah, you're always trying to pick up your teammates, regardless of where you're hitting the lineup. But obviously, the top four guys are supposed to be the guys who are pulling the heavy load. I think guys at that level in the big leagues are just trying to do what they do and what they're good at, whatever got them there, whether that's power or playing the speed game, contact, whatever. So you don't want to try to not be yourself and do too much, but yeah, if your horses aren't rolling, it definitely puts a little more pressure on everyone else to try to perform. For me personally, I was just trying to pitch in however I could when I was in there. I was just trying to have good at bats, do my thing. If I needed to bunt, lay down the bunt, whatever it was, I was just trying to contribute and help the team win.
I feel like that's probably like the most common cause of like some of these like lineup wide slumps is just like the guys who are at the top who get paid the big bucks. If for some reason like they all just like go cold at the same time, or like they're having like cold stretches. If you're like you're in the lineup, you're going to the bat rack and you're like, oh crap, okay, well we're down, and I guess we all have to go try and all hit home runs because we're losing, and the 1, 2, 3 sucks. So I always like I feel like I've never thought about that, but like yeah, if you're asking like if the eighth hitter thinks he needs to go up there and hit 5 hits and one at bat, it's like it's probably not going to work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, anybody trying to get 8 hits in one at bat is not good. But yeah, especially you don't want you don't want to be relying or putting the pressure on the guys who you're not supposed to be in that situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, again, one of my favorite clips from a while ago is just like there's no secrets in the big leagues, and like just it's one of my favorite lines. But how demoralizing is it when like the pitcher knows that like you need a barrel bad? Is that a weird feeling when like you can walk up there and you're like, okay, this guy knows I'm gonna try to swing out of my shoes?
You do your best to not let the pitcher know that, although pitchers probably know it more than they would admit to. It's you don't. That's why body language is so important, right? Because even if you're slumping, you don't want to make it look like you're defeated or you're feeling that inside. You want to act like you're confident. You do your routine. You walk up there the right way because it's obvious for at least players who's out there kind of like hiding as opposed to like who's at least faking it till they make it. So yeah, it all comes into play and it affects how you feel too. If you're walking out there like a turtle as opposed to if you're like, all right, let's fucking do this, like people can see that.
Was there something that you would tell yourself like internally, like if you were going through it to like try to not let it be visually known that like I'm going through it?
Yeah, always. I mean, every time I was out there and before I was like on deck, in my head, I'm telling myself I was the best player on the field. Always, no matter objectively, obviously not true, but in my mind, you have to believe that in order to play. Like, you can't be walking up there to face Max Scherzer and be like, "Well, I suck," and that's Max Scherzer, or "Oh God, that's Mike Trout in center field," or whatever it is. Like, you have to believe that you're the best and you're capable of playing better than all these other guys out there. So, yeah, you need that kind of mindset in order to get there at all.
Yeah. I had TJ on Antone a couple weeks ago, and like one of my favorite like conversations because like again I was telling you this like I've had so many like pitchers on that I haven't got a chance to talk hitting in so long. Like every single person I was just like I'm getting the pitcher's perspective and it rocks and I love that. But I'm also like, what does the other side think about? And TJ was talking about just like from his perspective on the mound, like he can read a lot during an at bat, like how guys take a pitch, how they foul off a pitch. Like he said that like he faces Bryce Harper and like the way he like flinched at his fastball, he's like, okay, he's timed up for that, can't throw that again. Like how many things are running through your head in the box, and like are you conscious like okay, I foul that off, if he throws that again I can get it, or like what's the internal like when you're battling with somebody?
You know when you're on a pitch and when you're not, for sure. Pitchers, I think they can kind of tell, but sometimes I think they don't really know either. Anytime I fouled off a ball, I tried to act like I was all over it, whether I wasn't or I was, unless I got like blown up and it was obvious. But um, it's a lot of mind games, a lot of tricks, just again, presenting that confidence of being like, I'm good, let's do this, nothing to worry about.
You said something earlier when you're trying to make it look like you fouled off a ball and you want the pitcher to know that you were all over it. What was your go-to move? Was it like stepping out of the box, like shaking your head, like doing the batting gloves again? Just like how would you kind of let the pitcher know that like your foul was killer?
That's a really good question too. I think just kind of staying in there, like not more so not reacting like, oh shit, I missed that, or like, I wasn't on time, or so, or like trying to be like, I need to lock in, or change something. It's just like either not even reacting or just being like making a face like, yeah, I'm right there, as opposed to being like hitting your bat or like something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's in the moment, dude, I don't even know how much you think about this stuff. You just kind of do it, but you're never, yeah, I was never trying to show that I was pissed at myself about something.
There's again, there's the mental side of baseball that like there's so many things going on in your brain that like I couldn't even imagine what that feeling is like, especially at the big league level. Um, Shifting gears a little bit, I wanted to talk about Cal Raleigh because I think he's one of the most like fascinating. He's having like one of the most interesting seasons ever, not for the good reasons. So obviously last year, 60 home runs, has this incredible year. This year he's batting 156 with 13 bombs. It's like negative war. Anthony Rizzo, I was watching Sunday Night Baseball because the M's were on, and he had a take, and I was wondering if you can kind of like add some color, kind of like add on to what he was talking about. He said, "quote You see him just chasing uncharacteristically for him, which tells me as a hitter, and I've been there plenty of times where I'm trying to get two or three hits in at bat. When you're a hitter like Raleigh who's had success and then has lost it, like how easy is it to like fall into that trap of like I gotta dig myself out of this hole right now."
Yeah, it's to me that is it's all mental. Like his mechanics might be slightly different than they were last year or something, but when you're that kind of hitter and you struggle that bad, it's not something with your swing. It's either physical, like he's super tired or hurt, or it's just pure mental. Like you lost that confidence, you lost that presence in the box, and you're trying to do too much every time you're up there. And it's easy to do that because you don't want to look up at the scoreboard and see 156 up there, especially when you're a hitter like him. Like that's tough. So to me, it's yeah, it's all mental, and he's trying to do too much. And at this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get hot, like now through the rest of the season because the season's kind of already gone. Like you're not really gonna get back too much from where he's at right now. So if he can let it go at this point, he'll probably get back to more of his normal self.
It's a great point. Yeah, at late August, there's not a lot you can do to fix 156 through whatever 90 games, whatever he's played. Um, this is the Sunday Night Baseball people were talking about this. He has a bad habit of chasing out of the zone. He's top five in baseball and fastballs above the zone seen, and it's like he just wants to try to get himself right off of the fastball. Is that common? Like when you're going through it, you're like, I just got to find a fastball. I got to find a straight heater and hit it hard. Like, is that the first thing you do?
Yeah, I think that's the best thing to get back to because the worst place you can be is late on a fastball and then early on the off speed as a hitter. So like you're kind of just in between and then you're not on either, right? So if you're on time for the fastball, or usually you need to feel like you're early on the fastball when you're in that mode, then you recognize the off speed stuff better and it kind of cleans itself up. But when you're chasing all that, I mean, you can't ball's bouncing or over your head, you're not going to hit it very well regardless. So I don't know what his chase stuff was last year when he, hit so well, but that's a tough spot to be, and I've been there. Just not at the stage that he has. Um, yeah, it's just a bad place to be as a hitter.
It's just funny to think that like my get out of jail free card in these at bats is just going to be one fastball. It's all it's going to take. But it's like the fastball usage of the big leagues has just been going down. It's like everybody's throwing three different fastballs, but mostly like there's no fastball counts. They're ripping sweepers and sliders and stuff. And it's like that's probably why he hasn't found a fastball yet. It's like, well, okay, well, first of all, if you do want a fastball, it's going to be at your neck. And most of the time, if it's in the zone, it's going to be spinning. So have fun with that. Like, what is he supposed to do? You can't do that.
Yeah, you just gotta. I mean, listen, hitting is hard, and that's really all there is to it. Like, there's other really good hitters this year who are not hitting to their standards, and that's just part of it. I mean, it's tough, and when you go up there and you're worried about so many different things, it makes it even tougher to hit. So if I was giving him advice, it would be to let all the rest of the season that's already happened, you got to let it go and just focus on being early on that fastball right down the middle, and that's it. That's all you're home. If he flips you three sliders dotted, so be it. Whatever. Let's get on a fastball. Let's find one and be early to it and hit it somewhere, and then we'll go from there.
Has that worked for you? Just all it takes is one heater?
Yeah, I think yeah, definitely. Because if you get that timing back, and it's usually not that much, like you're talking such small amounts of time that if you can get back to that, you usually start seeing the ball better. You see the off speed better. You can lay off more. You can hit the ones that are hanging. Um, but if you're worried about all of them together instead of just that one fastball, it looks like the ball's coming at 1,000 miles an hour. And you can't see anything, and you're just next thing you know, you're walking back to the dugout.
It's crazy, man. Yeah, you're right. It's just there's the little details about all this stuff and hitting. It's crazy. I wanted to ask because Joey Votto, he's in his analyst era. It's fantastic. He's doing Sunday Night Baseball. He's on media. He's on MLB Network all the time. Got to do a debate online with Teacherman hitting about pulling the baseball. To kind of set it up briefly, Joey went on Passon's podcast and he said pulling the ball in the air is the holy grail of hitting because you have to match barrel to ball to get it in the air. It's hard to do. And then Teacherman comes in and says essentially it's not hard. Keep your upper body the same and change how much your back leg turns. Here's Aaron Judge, who's done it 3 different times or whatever. Who's right here? Is pulling the ball in the air as hard as it seems, or is the debate something different in your mind?
I have a lot of thoughts on this. Having played with Joey and having worked with Rich, um, I would love to see the two of them in a cage together because Joey is so cerebral with hitting and so smart, and um, I would just love to see him try exactly what Rich teaches. Um, and I believe in a lot of the aspects of what Rich teaches. I don't believe in all of them for myself. I used um, plenty of it, but I'm not like a diehard on it either. But Rich's his shtick online is way different than he is in person. He's super helpful in person. He's super nice, but on Twitter he's just kind of like my way or the highway. That's kind of it. But in that conversation, they were saying, um, yeah, pulling the ball in the air. Obviously, I think that's the easiest way to get the best result. Right, best result being a home run. The easiest way for 99.9% of hitters is to pull the ball in the air, right? So from that perspective, I think Joey is definitely right that it's the holy grail. I think it's the hardest thing to do and not give up the other aspects of hitting. And what I mean is to be able to pull the ball in the air and still hit a line drive the other way if you need to, or if that ball's pitched away or whatever it is. If you can pull the ball in the air and not give up that stuff, if that's what you have to do, it is really important and really hard to do that. If you're just in there just trying to pull the ball in the air and don't care about anything else, I don't think it's that hard to do. But you might not be that great of a hitter. So definitely trade off there. Um, Rich's whole thing is, you have one swing basically, and your athleticism and your vision will take you to the ball. To just explain it very shortly and not as simple as possible, but there's a lot more to it. But yeah, their argument. I was laughing because I actually have it right here. They're talking about barrels, and Joey's talking about like the actual stat that they track now, barrels, which is
Oh,
whatever launch angle and exit velocity has to be considered a barrel.
yep.
Whereas like Rich, and at least this is what it seems like to me. Rich is talking about just barrels, as in squaring a ball up, regardless of if it's a 8-degree launch angle or whatever. So that I was laughing at that, but it's everyone points to Judge for Rich, and that's his biggest person he's worked with, both literally and or size wise and stature in the game. But he's worked with plenty of other guys too, and I think it's helped a lot of guys at least understand some other things they can add and kind of make their own. Judge obviously, Judge is gigantic and was a first rounder, so he's a talented dude anyway. So people kind of are like, well, he was going to be great no matter what, and he may have been. Maybe he's not as good as he would have been. I think Rich definitely helped Judge get to be the kind of hitter he turned into faster than he would have, but he might have been just as good if he never, worked with Rich either. But um, the last part of it though is like Joey said something about fly balls or a lot of fly balls that would die or wouldn't go out, and I don't think that's necessarily true either because basically every guy in the major leagues and even in pro ball is strong enough that if they hit the ball the right way, it's going to go over the fence. If they hit it to dead center and they're a little guy, maybe it falls just short. But if they pull the ball in the air, it's probably going over the fence. So there's so much to it, but I was laughing when we started talking about that, and then I was reading all of it, and yeah, I would just love to be in the cage with the two of them, listening to that conversation about the hitting.
They need to make it happen. He's like, hey, next time you're in St. Louis, come through. And I'm like, yeah, that should absolutely be a thing. I could just see
And he
Joey
means
randomly
it.
showing up there.
He means it. No,
um,
Rich will do it with anybody, and it's funny too because Rich uses like older clips of Joey, like when he was younger, as examples of what he's talking about hitting. So it's just funny that Joey's like kind of like, no.
they're going at it. And he's like, yeah, all it takes is just like, hey, man, you're 2010. Like, I watch it all the time. That could have broken
Yep.
this whole debate. You said something that like I thought was super interesting, was just like when your whole like MO at the plate is to try to pull in the ball in the air and you give up the rest of the game and you give up the other 2/3 of the field, that's where guys kind of fall into that. But like, because when I think about pulling the ball in the air, I think about that's what happens when like Gunnar Henderson starts striking out a million times and he's batted 200 because his only focus at the plate is to try to hit the ball over the fence by pulling it. Um, yeah, I just like that's also like another wrinkle to this debate. I feel like is like, yeah, it's the holy grail of hitting, but also like if that's your whole thing, you're going to be hitting 200.
And yeah, it can be for sure. And guys are different. Some guys are naturally better at pulling the ball in the air, and some guys are naturally better at hitting the ball the other way. Um, not everybody can be elite at both of those, right? Like if you're a power hitter, your strength is probably going to be pulling the ball in the air, or that's going to be most important. But you have to be able to do the other stuff enough to still be a productive hitter when you don't get the pitches to pull the ball in the air. Because if everyone knows you can pull the ball in the air and hit home runs, what are they going to do? They're not going to try to throw the ball where you can pull the ball in the air and hit home runs. So like that was a big change for me when my career turned around the minor leagues, was learning how to have an approach and drive the ball the other way where I could do damage when they would throw it over there. And then when it leaked into the part of the plate that I could really do damage and pull it, I was still able to do that. And yeah, when you kind of, I don't want to say figure that out because you never really ever just figure it out. But when I figured that out, that's when my career totally changed around.
That's interesting. With like, yeah, it's a battle between like the pitchers knowing your sweet spot for whatever. If you like the ball in, you're never going to get the ball in anymore. But I saw a graph and it was like talking about Pete Alonso, who's like my new favorite player. His home run distribution chart, it was like 11 were pulled, 4 up the middle, and 13 opposite field. What does that tell you? Like, is that just like big man hit the ball wherever, or do you think that like that was a conscious effort on his part to be like, okay, ball's not where I want it, but I'm still putting it over the fence?
I think it's a testament to his strength and his approach and his swing. I mean, to consistently hit the ball over the fence the other way, you need all 3 of those. I mean, it's hard to hit the ball over the fence the other way. And to do that, you said does he have more to the opposite field? Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's incredible. That's like probably I would guess he's adjusting to how he's being pitched and probably looking, to do that more. But if your swing's not right and you're not strong enough, then it doesn't really matter. So he's kind of putting all that together. That's really impressive. Obviously, he's got a ton of power, but that is very impressive to do that.
Have you ever hit like an accidental like opposite field home run?
Yeah, yeah.
Like an excuse me swing?
Yeah, it's when you, I think when your swings in when you get the swing the right way and you're going right and you're strong enough, that can happen for sure. But when the times I lost it after that, oh my, it was like, it'd take me three swings to hit it over the fence the other way. Like it was, it, it's really hard to be consistent with that. But when you are, it makes hitting a lot more fun. I can tell you that much.
I saw a clip back where you were in San Diego. You were talking about like you fixed your swing because you were too uphill. You said you wanted to flatten your bat path out a little bit. What went into that, and like what's finding the right balance of like a heavy uppercut swing versus putting the balls in play? Was that strictly
Oh
based off of
boy.
you needed to put more balls in play?
Yes, it was. So that's when it really started changing. Um, the spin rate on the fastballs and guys just pitching up in the zone. Like, I throw righty, hit lefty. So I kind of naturally had that more like loft to my swing, um, which I could get away with a lot of the time, especially in the minor leagues, or if it was a guy, who threw sinkers, those were my guys. If it was a sinker baller, that was my guy. Like, I'm all over them. But if it was a guy who was, had spin and was pitching up in the zone, and the major leagues, they figure out what you're not good at pretty quick, and they keep going to that. Um, you have to make an adjustment. And the Padres were basically like, man, we think you're a really good hitter and that you can really help us, but we got to figure out how to just put some more balls in play. And so when they set me down, that was really at whatever, I don't even remember what it was in the season, but they set me down like that was the focus. And for me, it was a lot of top hand, my left hand drills, and like focusing more on my top hand and being strong with it. Because for me, if I thought just like swing down, my swing did not come out very good. So it was like, how do we do this? And, the swing still be good. So it was top hand, and I went down and for 10 days and like just ripped it, and it felt great, and went back up, and I had my best game, the first game I came back after that, against the Cubs. But it just, that's probably, if I could have figured that out more consistently, it probably would have been a different story for me then. But that's, that's what I had trouble with the most, and that's what hitters in general have trouble with the most, which is why the pitchers are doing it most of the time now.
Yeah. Did Flash Ryan Flaherty help you with that?
We talked about it a lot. Flash was great to me. I talked to Flash often in the dugout about everything, and it was kind of like a collective effort of like, what are some ideas that you can try to see if it feels good, if it gets the kind of, the path we're looking for. And so there was a lot of people involved in that.
Takes a village.
Yes.
Favorite Ryan Flaherty conversation nugget thing he's dropped to you? Because I remember Adam Jones just like, this guy lives and breathes ball. He's the man. What stands out?
He's the best. But the first one that comes to my mind is a funny one, because it was I might have told you the story a long time ago, but it was Ryan Helsley, pitcher, throws the crap out of it. And at the time I was going to pinch hit against him, and I don't know if he just came up, like we didn't really have too much on yet. Flash was always the guy in the dugout that year that, like, you went to him like, what's this guy got? And he'd have the iPad and all this stuff. And I'm like, what's the guy? He's like, we don't really have too much on him. Yeah, he throws hard or something like that, and blah, blah, blah. And I think I struck out on 3 pitches, and it was like 101, just hammer slider in the dirt, and then like a 40-foot slider I swung at, and whatever. And I just like walk back to the dugout, and I'm just sitting there like, motherfucker. The Flash comes up, and it's like, God, pretty good stuff, huh? I was like, yeah, pretty good. And we were like laughing, but it was just funny because, he's a great dude, and we had that kind of relationship where it was like I would laugh at that. But if some other people came up and said that to me, I wouldn't have been too happy.
Yeah, like where was that? Where was this insightful analysis 5 minutes ago, Ryan? Thank you.
I'll always remember that. It
Oh
was
man,
funny.
I love that dynamic of that team too because it was just all former Orioles. It was just
Yep.
Ryan and Manny and Bobby Dickerson, or was no was it Bobby
Yeah.
Dickerson on the team? Oh, and
Yep.
Kirby.
He was. Yep.
Oh,
Kirby
it's
was our
just the whole
first base
Orioles team
coach.
on. Yeah.
Bobby D was our third base and infield guy. So yeah, I had Bobby in the infield and Kirby in the outfield, and then yeah, Kirby at first and Bobby at third. It was they were great, man. They were. I had a blast with those guys. They were great coaches and they were fun dudes to be around.
Oh, be still my Orioles heart. Yeah, it's just my entire childhood was just on the 2021 Padres.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was listening to Pete Crow Armstrong, who is might win the NL MVP this year. He was on a podcast and he said that like this past week on Monday when he had that huge game, you know, two homers, homer on the first pitch, homer to end the game on a walk off. He said that he had been mini scuffling for like a week before that, and he said that game in particular, 2 hours before the game, I'm swinging at the first pitch no matter what, doesn't matter. Is that another thing that like you could use as like another tool in your bag to like help you get on back on track? It's just like I'm gonna swing at the first one and see what happens.
Yeah, especially if you're leading off the game because that's probably your best chance for a fastball right there. But yeah, it's just more of trusting yourself and getting out of your own head. Just be like, hey, I'm swinging it. Like, forget this stuff. And he's obviously a great player, but he's a super confident dude. And the more you can get out of your own way, usually the better off you are as a hitter.
Have you ever made your mind up and you're like, nah, tonight or we're hacking at the first one? Has that ever worked?
I've done it. I've definitely done it. It's worked and it's not worked. And every time it's not worked, I'm always like, why did I just do that? Like, what am I doing? But the times it's worked, I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. The first one's a slider in the other batter's box and you swing at it.
Yep.
You're like, I really messed this one up. Shouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
One other PCA nugget I loved, like he did a thing in the Athletic. It was just like we talk about the mental side of the game. He's out there in center field, might get a little lonely at sometimes, but he's like he doesn't get locked in every single pitch because like he said that would just like fuck him up mentally. So he lets his mind wander and he kind of like looks at the crowd and like then like when the pitch comes, he gets back in it. Is that a thing in the outfield? Like how lonely and bored do you get out there in the center field?
Yeah. If you can't, you have to take a break in between pitches for sure, or you'll just, I don't know, lose your mind basically out there. But as long as you're locked in when the pitch is coming, you're good. But focusing that entire time would be too hard. That's definitely not productive. I remember Billy Hatcher was the first base coach. No, yeah, one of the base coaches for the Reds and was the outfield guy when I was younger. And I was standing in right field. It was a spring training game, and he would always be walking. He just walked all the time. And he was just like getting his exercise and walking. And he was like, "Oh, Grady, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Billy, what are you talking about? I'm waiting, playing a game." And he's like, "Why aren't you talking shit to the center fielder?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, you got to do something to keep yourself busy out here and not lose your mind." So yeah, there's definitely part of that to it because infield, you know, you take a little break, but you also can get your face ripped off at any point. So you got to be in there. Outfield, you can relax just a little bit more in between.
Did you ever turn around and look at the crowd?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Usually, if they were talking a bunch of shit or something, I try to turn around. If they're being funny, try to play with them a little bit to make it fun. Because if you do that, they're usually better to you. Or if you try to be a hardo, they usually get on you more. So yeah, you try to have some fun while you're doing it.
I'm going to my first Cubs game at Wrigley next week. Is that a thing? Like you've played outfield in Wrigley, haven't you? I imagine, right? Yeah. What are the
Oh
bleacher
yeah.
creatures like there? Is that a rowdy crew out in Wrigley?
I can't remember during the game. I hit the ivy decently hard. Schwarber hit a leadoff homer, and I jumped it like barely got into the basket, and I hit the wall, and it hurt. I mean, it hurt way more than I thought. It like knocked the breath out of me, and it wasn't even like that hard of a hit. And I'm like, oh my god, I forgot that's brick. But I don't remember what they were saying. I got absolutely. Yu Darvish owned my life that entire game, so it's kind of a blur. But I remember in BP they were talking crap, And they were saying something about Ohio, and I was like, man, I'm from Pennsylvania. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I just play for the Reds. Like, so that's all I remember from them talking crap. But I do remember striking out. Not that game. I think the next game in like a big spot pinch hitting in like the eighth, and just feeling like all the people there were on top of me, like this close to me. It just felt like they were so close. And Wrigley's just a really cool place to play. So it's an awesome atmosphere.
Didn't you knock yourself out running into a wall in spring?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did do that. Yeah. Caught it.
It's still. Did you hold on
I
to it
caught it.
like
I did.
throughout the whole complete the process of the catch?
Yeah, there was a runner on base or something, so I was like laying on the ground and like flipped it to Jose Siri, who was coming over from center field, and my hat was like totally bent and crooked. I hit like the only pole, of course, in the HUD, like out of the 10 feet of other space I could have hit, but I was all right. They made me come out.
You wanted to stay in after smacking a pole full speed?
Yeah, they were afraid I was concussed, but I was all right.
Yeah. Yeah, you had cartoon birds swirling around you. You're like, nah, I'm fine, guys. Go back. Don't worry about it.
Yep, pretty much.
Julio Rodriguez, they were getting their asses beat in Milwaukee, and it was 1 out. He caught a ball, 2 outs. He flipped it into the crowd. This is when they were down like 19-0 or whatever. Have you ever done that accidentally? Have you ever accidentally like forgotten how many outs there were?
I have not, and I can't imagine a worse feeling than that would be.
I think Adam Jones on Twitter was like, it happens to the best of us. And I'm like, maybe, but like, that might be like the ultimate, like you're trying to zone out because you really don't want to think about how bad you're losing, right?
Yes, that's exactly what I would think.
Last thing, I read this other story in the Athletic about how the Braves this year for the MLB draft, they did this thing and it was like their 8th through 10th round picks. That was like a $250,000 range is what it was supposed to be, but they gave each of them $500. They were all college seniors with no more eligibility, so they saved like $500,000 or whatever. When you got drafted in the 8th round, did you also have something like this? Like you had no more eligibility and they were like, we're lowballing you.
Yeah, and this is well-known tactic. I think that 500 is a little extreme. Um, but teams, once the bonus pools came into play, like this was a strategy teams had to, draft seniors who couldn't go back to school and try to save some money for the high schoolers or guys in those other rounds to sign. Yeah, when the Reds called me, I got more money than I thought I was going to get. It still wasn't very much, but I was like, absolutely. And I would assume and hope that the Braves called these guys prior and were like, hey, we want to take you in this round. Will you take $500? And, it's I get both sides of it. Like, it's kind of screwed up because that really is like nothing. But also you don't have leverage. You're getting an opportunity. And now with the way the draft is and the way the roster spots are in the organization, now it's even harder, to get those spots. So you have a shot if you take that money and get drafted. And the other part of it is I don't know exactly how much they make these days, but I know it's way more than we were making right after I got drafted. I think my paycheck after I got drafted in the short season was like $350 for 2 weeks. So, at the end of the day, all you want is an opportunity. The money would be nice, but you're trying to, make it to the major leagues and make money then. So all you can ask for is a shot. But yeah, $500 seems to be a little extreme.
Because after taxes, like, what are we doing? You're getting like $200.
Yeah.
Like, I was reading the article and once they asked another executive from a different team, and he's like, really, there's no difference between you giving him $10K and $500 if you think about it. I'm like, I actually, for a 22-year-old, that's a pretty big. Also, it's just like insulting to get $500. Like, I know what you just said, but just like you might as well just Price is Right, give him $1. I'd rather have $1 than 500.
Yeah, it's a little crazy, but it is not them saving money in those rounds with college seniors is nothing for sure.
If you were in college now, do you think you would have capitalized on some NIL? Because that's the other thing. They're like, well, they're only giving them 500, but they probably made money in college. How would you have liked to have been around in the NIL era?
I gotta roll right after this because we're
Yeah.
closing up. But I would have loved to get some NIL. I don't know if I would have at Rutgers or if I would have deserved any, but the guys at the big schools, from what I understand, yeah, they're getting a little bit of money, so maybe that plays a role into it. But at the end of the day, the money is nice when you get drafted, but you're just looking for that opportunity to, accomplish your dreams and worry about that stuff then.
Chip at a chair. Yeah. All right, Brian, this has been incredible. I first of all, thank you for hopping on in the middle of the day. Really appreciate it. But it's been too long. I haven't caught up in so long. So it's great seeing you. Great talking ball. And yeah, hopefully we do this again soon.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. It was awesome.